Hello, and thank you for joining us for Alverno's Entrepreneurial Inspiration Conversations. My name is Moira Flood, and I am joined today by our student America Rosete and Sandra Madrigal, who is an alum and business owner in the Milwaukee area. America, did you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is America Rossetti. I am a junior studying at Alverno College. I am double majoring in business and Spanish. I am pretty involved on campus with HPGM. I currently work on campus and I'm pretty involved on campus as well. And then we can start with introducing Sandra Madrigal.
Hi, I'm Sandra Madrigal, and I am an Alverno alum, class of 2010. And I own Los Mariachis restaurant and Pineapple Café. I also have 2 food trucks and have been a business owner since 2012.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sandra.
You're welcome.
If we can just start with the questions. So as the owner of 2 successful restaurants, what does an average day in the life look for you? How has that changed during the pandemic? I know that we have been through rough times, so we just want to have a little insight on how has the pandemic impacted you?
So definitely the restaurant hospitality group has been the most affected of everyone. Everyone has been affected, but our industry, due to the pandemic, it's really, I guess, per se in a sense, shut us down. We've had to jump roles on how we run our business and how we operate our business. And we have a lot of job cuts that we had to do, but we were able to, we got together as a team, and we kind of put together a whole new plan. And so our servers, our bussers, being able to continue to work with not having any customers in the restaurant, we were able to cater to our customers outside the restaurant. To go and delivery became such a hot topic, and it's so having them come in to eat, we put in drink specials and food package specials. So instead of ordering, for a family of 4 different orders, us as a team, we put together, a lot of the items that are commonly purchased when people come into the restaurant, and we put them in packaged meals. So for $45, you were able to feed a family of 4. And which became, we priced adjustingly for families, and we were able to cater to the market when our business was technically shut down. I say that the team, just working as a team, which is Alverno's biggest, leadership, that, we work as a team, and to be a good leader, you need to have, effective citizenship, because we need to believe in who's in charge, and I need to hear what you think on how we can make this better. So definitely the pandemic, not that I went to the Alverno 8 core abilities, but that's in my mind and how I do business. It was able to apply it on how we had to switch our roles real quick. And as to go and deliveries were picking up, that's how we got into the food truck business more and more, is that instead of having you come in to get the food, we're bringing the food to you.
Wow.
That's how it changed.
Yeah. I mean, that's very, very important. The pandemic has really impacted our everyday lives. So having different ways to attract your business is very, very important. And then the second question that I have for you is, your parent founded Los Mariachis in 1991. What inspired you to continue the family legacy, and what does it mean to be a part of a family business?
So, we've been in business since 1991, and let me tell you, things have changed. Before, it was the good old days that, you put a sign up and you turn the open sign and you were busy. It was great. And as time goes on, the market starts to evolutionize a little bit, and it starts to change. And, my parents weren't necessarily college graduates, and they, worked very hard. He was a cook, my mom was a waitress, and they opened up their business, and it grew and it did very well. But as time changes, it's kind of like, it's what worked before, it doesn't work now. And I want to say transitioning for me, taking over the role, was very, I guess, per se, kind of hard, because in their time, their businesses ran very successfully. They had 4 operating restaurants at one time since 1991. And, fast forward to 2001, Los Mariachis is no longer the only Mexican restaurant on the block. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's any size, anything that you can think of. And what Los Mariachis, I guess what our food is no longer hot. And what do I mean by all of these changes? We came in business in 1991, and we parked our business in a suburban area. And we had people that were chichis, and that was a very chain restaurant that a lot of non-Hispanic people would go to because it was like the Mexican food staple for people that were maybe not as cultured in our food to go to. And they abruptly closed. So here we are in this kind of like transition where they're like, well, since you're kind of like in the area, do you guys offer the same food? Well, 1991, my dad made everything very traditional. We had tacos made with cilantro and onion. We had queso fresco, queso chihuahua. We had horchata and jamaica, and we thought it was the greatest thing. Oh my gosh, the customers thought it was absolutely awful. They were like, well, where's the lettuce, tomato, cheese on these tacos? And our enchiladas are supposed to be with red sauce with cheddar cheese. And, it was just something that they were not maybe ready for. So I always tell my dad, you were premature, you were just premature for your time. So we ended up changing our menu and our ingredients to accommodate the market and what it is they were looking for. Well, 2001, everyone's like, you're not a real Mexican restaurant because you have lettuce, tomato, cheese on your tacos. I'm like, where were you in 1991? Because this is not what everybody wanted. And I'm telling you, because I was a server at 12 years old, I remember these conversations, So it's definitely, watching the family business has its pros, but it has its cons in the sense of they like to do things a certain way and they're not necessarily ready for change. And maybe they don't want to hear a woman and their oldest daughter going to school and maybe implementing these changes. So it was definitely an edge with a double sword. It was a great opportunity, but it was something that having to transition to new ideas, new ways, and just having to pass the torch, sometimes a little hurtful for the parents, when they're ready, but they're not ready. So
Exactly.
it's a good thing, but sometimes family business is a more difficult passing it on than versus, if I was just a CEO of a company and I'm stepping down because I'm ready to move on to the next thing and the next person stepping up. Sometimes the transition, it's literally just business, and with the family, there's a lot of personal, heartfelt at transitioning between business and personal. So it has its pluses because I got to see full sight, insight business that, when I went to school, when we were learning a lot of the business abilities, I was able to see and apply that in my current life because I had firsthand knowledge on what maybe some of the business classes were talking about,
Yeah, and that's also very important because having that family oriented within a business, especially in our culture, it's very, very, very rough to tell a parent or to tell an uncle, this is not the way that's supposed to be. It needs to be this. We have to stay on top of things. We can't stay in the past. We have to be in the future now. So it's very, very important for them to understand. But sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. So that's why a lot of restaurants do fall apart because of those disagreements and stuff. And then another question that I have for you is you've been an active member of the Greater Milwaukee community and specifically the Hispanic community. What are some of your proudest achievements as they relate to showcasing your beautiful culture?
So, when we first opened Mariachis, I was working very close with Maria Madrigal. And she led this wonderful program that they had, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, where it was teaching ESL to adult students. And it was really interesting because my husband is not from here. So I thought, you know what? It would be a really great opportunity for you to take classes, it would be really great for you to take classes and I would be able to offer services. And we kind of got to do this thing together where, I was able to connect with, other adults and whatnot. And one thing that I was very, I guess, taken back by is, we take for granted being able to speak English and Spanish. I don't want to say it didn't cost us anything, but it's just something that we were taught. So it's not really like a hardship. And you see these adult students coming with all the intentions in the world I'm going to learn the second language. And it was the determination. And, they have kids, they're working, they're busy, and they showed up all the time, every day. And I, as part of my token of appreciation to appreciate how much work they put in for that, me and my husband, about those mariachis, we thought that we would put a little graduation ceremony together for everybody. And I had proposed to the instructor that I said, hey, so after this course is done, once they get their certification that they did so many hours, why don't we host a little dinner at Los Mariachis so their family can come? Because, your family and your friends, you spend time away trying to perfect a language that you're not very familiar with. And this is just kind of like showing them the work that you do. There's, you get a little celebration out of it. I mean, we all went to school here. We all looked forward to 5th grade graduation, 8th grade graduation. And I just thought it would be really cool if we did something for them. So we planned, those mariachis, we put out the spread of food. We donated the food. We donated our facility. And we gave them a little graduation ceremony. They had a blast. It was so great because you got to see all the kids and the families, and they enjoyed that, you just saw the hugs and the kisses they were very happy that they had pursued trying to continue to learn English as a second language. And we were happy to do something for the community,
Yeah, for sure. I can also relate to that because my mom went to MATC for about 10 years to learn English. So it is very important that to have those resources for people that don't know the language, and they want to pursue it and they want to learn more about it, and just having you the initiative of just, okay, I'm gonna do this for them. They've worked so hard for this, and to know something that they didn't know at all. So it is very important for them to say, at least someone does appreciate my work.
Yes.
To actually say, okay, I actually did something. And then a question that I have for you as a wife, mother, and entrepreneur, what advice would you offer someone who is interested in pursuing a path of business ownership, but may feel like they won't succeed?
You know what? It's something that we all face. It's a tariff. We are all scared, no matter what you decide to do. Whether you decide to own a business, whether you decide to take your next level up to, supervisor managerial role, having a child, getting married. I mean, those are all scary moments in this life that I think it's normal. And you should be afraid because it's change. And this way, I always tell yourself, to be afraid kind of puts you up in a situation where you kind of set scenarios up in your mind. You think, oh, well, if it goes this way, if it kind of goes that way, at least you kind of have some kind of strategy in the back of your mind for which way the scenario goes. And I think that is actually something in your favor. Whereas sometimes maybe if you go in overly confident, or you go in and think that it's going to be a breeze, you tend to struggle a little bit more because you think, oh, this was a little bit harder than I expected, and sometimes when things come as a shock or when they hit you out of nowhere, it's kind of takes you back a little bit. So I think that your safety net should be that you are a little scared and you feel maybe just even, I'm not sure if I should do this, that second guessing yourself, that's very natural. And you should face those, I guess, fears, because it's worse probably sitting back 3 to 5 years from now and thinking, I should have done A, B, or C. And I think that go for it. I love looking at women that have children and that are married and that have seniority roles in whatever it may be, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't care what role, but any role that you have some kind of seniority role, but yet you still get to enjoy the luxury of being a woman, being a powerful woman, being a mother woman, being a wife woman, being a strong, independent woman, whatever, all those options is super important that you take whatever you want on as a choice for yourself. So yes, most definitely. If you're afraid, that's a good sign. You're most likely going to be successful.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, just coming back to it, having that, especially in our Mexican culture, women don't tend to go and get a job. They're mostly taking care of their family. And just having that, like for you, Sandra, having a business, and just working with your family and stuff, trying to get things done is very, very, very impressive, because I do know that is a lot of hard work that you put into that. And so the next question that I have is, when reflecting on your time at Alverno, what would you say was the most important thing you've learned?
Communication. Communication. And I don't know how to tell you how many times that comes up in every day of my life, whether it's me communicating with my husband, whether it's me communicating with my kids, or whether it's me communicating with my employees. That, it's, I don't know if it's a Latina woman thing. I don't know if it's a woman thing, but I feel like sometimes for some reason we always think that we shouldn't speak up, or should we maybe kind of like wait, or we second guess our whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not really sure what it is, but I can tell you for sure, for me as a woman, before I went to Alverno, I will never remember, I took this class with Craig Miller, and he said, half of you that are married in here are going to be divorced when you graduate. And he started laughing. And I was married at the time, I was thinking to myself, dear Lord, like, oh my God, I hope this isn't true. Like, I hope that I'm not that half, And he's like, today we're going to learn a business account. And so we were learning what withdrawals were, or assets and liabilities, and withdrawals and deposits. I was like, okay, well, what does this have to do with marriage or whatever? He's like, let's just look at this where you're going to put a withdrawal, and any time that you feel in your relationship, you feel you're not being valued. And you're going to put something in your asset column every time you feel value. Let's just say that I'm no longer married in my first marriage, and my withdrawal account was very big. But I'm happily married now. But I knew now what I was looking for in my asset account, because, you start to think and you start to communicate what it is that your needs and wants are. And same thing in business. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten proposals or contracts for work that needs done for the restaurant, that the numbers are like, oh, really? That's kind of high. So just so you know, I took the liberty of getting two other, quotes, and yours is about $20,000 higher. So needless to say, I will not be going with you, but I always like to show them the two other quotes. Like, I know you didn't think that I was just going to take this one quote and I wasn't going to ask any questions. And I do that so they can learn a lesson, or my favorite is always when they come into the restaurant and hi, we're here to speak to the owner. Is he in? Like, no, he's not actually. But if you like to leave your name and card, he'll give you a call the day that he comes in. Well, guess what? He never got a phone call. So I think that communication definitely is key in every aspect of your life. You need it for when you take a job. You need it for when you get in relationships, and you need it for your life. Because if you don't communicate what your wants and needs are, you are going to have withdrawals in that bank account like nobody's business, and that asset column is going to be pretty empty. So yes, communication is key.
Yes, I totally agree. And then, what is the best piece of advice you have ever received? And what is the best piece of advice you've ever given?
I would definitely have to say the best piece of advice that I have received was, if you see the herd going in the opposite direction, it's because you're doing something right. I didn't really know what that meant. I wasn't really sure what that meant. But I can definitely say, over the years of being a woman-owned business in the restaurant industry, we're restaurant, bar, hotel. We're the hospitality industry. There are a lot of women owners, but male dominancy is still pretty heavy in this industry. And, when I make my presence known when I go to NACE, which is the National Association of Catering Events, when I go to the Wisconsin Restaurant Association events, when I go to Chamber of Commerce events, it's always just quite interesting to see, the conversation that you have with other people on what I do with my business. I do a lot of networking. I do a lot of, sponsorships. I do a lot of community events, because I have learned that kind of doing things that people normally don't do seem to stand out a little bit more. And standing out a little bit more with 10 other restaurants in the area is definitely key. So when you feel like you're doing something wrong because everyone else is doing it differently, you're doing something right. It might take a little bit longer, but it's definitely right. And a piece of advice that I tell this to everybody I talk to, especially women, is ask for what you want, because nobody's a mind reader and you'll never get if you don't ask. And the worst they can say is no, but just know that if you don't keep on knocking on doors, you don't know what will open. So ask, don't be afraid. It's okay. It's, I had a lady that I talked to in a women discussion panel, and she was, she worked at the hotel for 15 years and she had been promised a raise. But, the hotels, they kept on changing hands, managements, and her raise kept on getting lost in the loopholes. And she kind of would like tiptoe around it, but wouldn't really be assertive about it. And at that discussion, I said, look, the worst that can happen is you go up, you set a meeting, you talk to your managers and you say, look, I was promised this. Here is what we discussed previously. I know you were not here and they are no longer here, but in order for me to stay, this is what I'm looking for. And the worst they could say would be no. She could continue to work there, but at least she got to say, hey, I asked, and he said no. And then that's what she decided to do. Or she could think of her value worth, and she could go on to the next hotel and request what it is that she's looking for. But if she just sat there tiptoeing around it, she'd never know. And I got a wonderful LinkedIn message from her. And she told me that after the meeting, after the discussion, she went in and she talked to her managers, and they gave her a 5% more increase than what she went in looking for.
Wow.
So she got to keep her job and she made more money, and it's just, I cannot tell you. It's okay. Be embarrassed. Feel like, man, like I really thought I was going to get it. Be let down. But there's nothing worse than what if I would have just asked and I would have got it, and not knowing, So ask. And if they say no, it's okay. You can continue to work harder. Maybe they can say yes, or you can go on to the next one.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially within, like, as you said, like when you did the panel, like it's very important, those little things that make that impact of a situation do a whole 360. And it's very, very important for people, or even women specifically, to understand that don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to speak your mind about things, because it is very important within regards to anything, really. And then especially like competing with men in a society, it is very important because they do have, like, a men and women have the same right to speak. And I feel like a man uses it more because they have the potential of explaining and having that gut feeling of, okay, I can do this, but a woman takes a little bit more time, and you just need a little bit of that push to just, okay.
Absolutely. It's in their natural instinct. They're male dominant. They just feel like, oh, I'm a male, I have the upper hand. Yes. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm the female. We will have a very nice discussion. And I don't think that's the way. But, I have a lot of male friends. They're really awesome. Surround yourself with good, empowering people. And I believe in equal rights for men and women. I'm very equal across the board in that sense. But I just feel like as women, it's in our nature that we want to nurture and not be maybe a little competitive or a little assertive, a little
selfish.
We almost take those terms as, oh, that's not very ladylike or womanlike. And we kind of feel guilty for feeling that way. And, I'm blessed. I have 5 sons, and I guess I get to be selfish, assertiveness, very bossy, because I'm the only woman in the house. So what I say goes. So maybe that helps me in my business, but no, definitely, ask questions, speak your mind, and ask for what you want, because nobody's going to give it to you.
Yes. And then one of the other questions that I have here is, what brings you the most joy as it relates to your work?
Oh my gosh, seeing people succeed. I can't tell you how many people come up to me and they're 16, 15, and they worked for me, up until they're 18 or up until they were 22, because they worked with me during high school. Some of them worked with me during their college years. and they come back to the restaurant, or they still message me to this day and tell me, hey, I graduated, or I opened my own business, or I'm doing this. And I love having people that want to open up restaurants or food trucks, and they come and they ask me who I use, what I do, and where I go, and what advice that I give. Because if it's one, I want to say maybe stereotype that I want to break in the Latino community, is I'm all about helping. I'm all about, like, come to me. I'm very busy, so I forget half the time. But if you sit with me and you make sure it gets done, like, I promise you it gets done. But I love seeing people excel and grow. I have nothing but love for people that want to be successful, because I just want to see you. And I was part of it. Like, I saw them in the beginning when they were, and I was there,
Yeah.
And then it's like, when they get to complete their goal or their dream 5-10 years later, like, hey, Miss Sandra, I'm like, yes, I remember you. Like, I so remember you. And it's great that they remember, because they're like, you stuck out, because I remember you used to tell me. People that work with me, they call me Mama M. Why do they call me Mama M? Because they know that I'm going to come and I'm going to lay down the law, and I'm going to give you advice that you didn't ask for, but I'm going to give to you because you need. You don't know it yet, but you will. And something or some way it sticks out, and they remember me. So down the line, I'll get a text out of nowhere, or I'll get a phone call, or they'll come up. Do you remember that one time? Yes, I remember that one time. So I love seeing people grow into what they say they're going to do, because there's nothing more like that gives me satisfaction to see success. Because I don't know many other entrepreneurs that aren't as giving with information that I am, because like I said, most of my acquaintances and my affiliations think the same way I do. And we think it's really important to give back and to help. So if we know something, or we know someone, or we can be part of it, like, come sit down next to me and make sure you do it, because sometimes I get sidetracked. But it's a great feeling. So that's what I enjoy most, is watching people be successful.
Yeah, that also has, like, tend to, like, have your, like, maternal instinct of, like,
You know what?
it
must be, because I have 5 kids. I'm like, come here, America. Like, I got 2 things to say to you. And you're gonna be like, oh, like, thank you. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry it was awkward during work, but I just want to tell you that, but you know what? Take it for what it is. 2 years later, somehow those words stick in your mind. You're like, she was actually talking about this. I know what she's talking about now.
For sure. And then the last question that I have here is, what does it mean to you to be an Alverno strong?
Oh my gosh. It means everything. It means leadership and quality. And when I say quality, I base that on everything that I do and that I give, because I want to be remembered and recognized for actually doing, like, a good job. As I remember giving presentations for school, I was terrified. To stand in front of I would shake. My voice would tremble. And now you can't shut me up, because I think it's the greatest thing to talk to people and share the information. And they're like, oh my God, aren't you comedian Sandra? I was like, I promise I really wasn't. And I appreciate the family orient that they gave, because it reminded a lot of where I come from. A lot of teamwork, a lot of group work, a lot of just interaction, a lot of social interaction between students and teachers and advisors. I've met lifelong instructors, professors that we still communicate every now and then, So I would definitely have to say that it's just the family orient, the abilities that I use on my everyday life. It's not like I pull out my book and I say, hey, I'm applying these, but not knowingly, subconsciously, they're ingrained. And you can see it in my work and my person, and you can see it on when I do stuff. It's definitely the core values that they left me with.
Wow, that's very, very impactful. Me coming still studying out at Alverno, I very take advantage to that, because it is very important to have all of these abilities, and you not noticing that you're using them is just something that it's very, very, like, important in me. So That's very great.
I'm telling you, by the time you graduate Alverno, they'll be so ingrained in you that you don't even know that you're doing it. It's just like oh, you're a really great speaker. Oh, your communications, because oh, you're such a natural leader. Like, oh, actually, it's Alverno.
I believe that.
That's great. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to speak with us today. And we're so excited that we were able to connect the two of you. And it sounds like there's a strong partnership in the making here. So we're really excited to watch both of you continue to blossom and embrace your Alverno strength, and certainly to continue to support you on your journeys and everything. And Sandra, if there's any way that Alverno or the community can support Los Mariachis, please feel free to let us know. Tag Alverno in posts to let people know if you have specials or things going on like that. But we want to certainly make sure that we continue to support you and your business as well. So thank you again both so much. This was great.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.